Welcome to this September Pick a Card Spirit Guide reading. I say the September reading, but there might be another one coming out before the month is up. Who knows? It just depends on what guides come through to me who want to speak to you. And that brings me to this point that I want to make about the guides that do come through. Guides can be anyone. It could be an angel, it could be someone from mythology, it could be an elemental such as a mermaid or a unicorn or something like that. It could even be someone who we actually know in our current life, someone who is actually alive, or it could be a deceased loved one. There are many ways that people can be guides for us. Some guides are especially prominent for us. We have at least one primary guide, I feel like, who is with us from the beginning of our lifetime, and they're really here to help us through our entire life, and they're especially important to us. But we have other guides who come in just to deliver a message and that's it. So that might be what you're getting today. Or we have guides who come in to help us with a significant life obstacle or challenge. And then when we're done with that challenge, then they move on and we move on. So that might be what the guide is who's coming through for you today as well. And then, of course, it could also be a more prominent guide. It might be one of your central guides, someone who's with you throughout your lifetime. So you're going to have to use your own intuition about how strong the connection is to this particular guide that comes through for you. And if it does feel like a prominent connection, you might want to explore more about who this person is. If not, if it feels like just more of a momentary message, then you can accept that message and get as much out of it as you can. So with that said, we're going to go to the cards and let you pick your card. All right. So we have 3 cards here that you can choose from. The tarot deck that I'm using is the Steampunk Tarot. So if you choose Spirit Guide number 1, that's going to be the 10 of Swords. Choose the image that most resonates for you. Number 2 is the 8 of Swords, and number 3 is the Moon card. I'm not sure why these were chosen randomly, but for some reason, the energies that are coming through in this reading are kind of more difficult energies. All 3 of these cards are kind of difficult energies. So if you're watching this reading, you might be going through a particularly hard time in your life, and your guide is here to help you with that. So go ahead and choose, and then use the timestamps in the description to go to your reading. Okay, so those of you who chose the first card, which was the 10 of Swords, the guide wanting to work with you today is King Tut. King Tut he's kind of known as the boy king of Egypt. He became king at age 9 and died at 19, so he wasn't king for very long. And I don't think there is actually a whole lot known of him. Also, I'm not a historian, but I do know that he wanted to speak to some of you today, so I am channeling his message. I'm using Oracle and Tarot cards to help channel that message, and I'm also burning some, well, I can't think of what this is called. It's this wood that you can burn. Why am I not remembering the name of it? But anyway, it's a sacred wood that you can burn, which can help you to connect with guides. Has a lot of spiritual properties. I will remember the name of it in a second. But first I'm asking King Tut, what is the aspect of the viewer's life that you're wanting to help them with? And it says they're wanting to help lift sadness. And that makes sense. So there's an oracle card here, a blessing to lift sadness. That's why I know that that's what he wants to work with you on. But also you chose the Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords indicates that you are going through a really major life transition. And so there's probably a lot of sadness coming from that transition because it's been a very difficult process. The positive thing here to remember is that when you get to a Ten of Swords experience, that's pretty much the lowest it can get. So you've experienced the lowest part of this at this point, which means that everything from here is going to be an improvement over what you've experienced so far. Secondly, I wanted to ask King Tut what it is about his own experience that makes him suitable to help you in this process. Because usually when a guide comes through, and King Tut, he might be a primary guide for you, he might be a long-term guide for you, or, you know, sometimes guides come in just to deliver a message, and that's all they need to do. They just need to connect with us for that one message. Or they might want to work with us just for a short period of our life to help us with a certain thing that we're going through in that period of our life. But for now, so whatever he is to you, I don't know. It's going to be different for everyone who views this, but I'm asking him, what is it about his own life that he experienced when he was King Tut that is allowing him to be sort of an expert to guide you through your own process? And he's saying, you know, I was very successful. I was extremely successful. You know, even though he was so young, he's saying I was very successful. I was adored. I was praised. But that came of a certain cost to me because he's saying either I had to be very dominating in my words and actions and had to push down my emotions and not really express my true emotional needs, in order to really serve Egypt and the world in the way that I was called to do. So at a very young age, that must have been hard for him. He's saying that he had to push down his own emotional needs and set them aside. So he had everything. He had wealth and glory and fame, but he's saying his emotional needs were not met for some reason. He wasn't really allowed to express his emotions either. So it seems like in whatever you're going through, there may also be issues of you feeling like I have to be really strong right now, and I can't really be in my emotions because I don't feel safe there. I don't feel supported there. So let me see what he wants to say to you about that. Okay, so we get the Seven of Pentacles, the Five of Swords, and the Seven of Wands. So if you're into tarot and that means something to you, you can go ahead and take the intuitive message however you get it, but I'm also going to interpret the cards myself. First, he's saying, you know, the process you're in right now is a very spiritual place that you're at the moment. This has been a long journey. Whatever you're feeling, whatever this major transition or ending, and every ending is also a beginning, whatever that transition is that you're experiencing, he's saying, you know, you've gone so far, you must continue to persist. Perseverance is key here. The word perseverance is very important. You want to continue to persevere. He's saying you have a conquering spirit. So whatever you're trying to overcome, maybe you have some opposition. Maybe there are people who are opposing you in your goals. And he's saying you have what it takes to withstand all of this and to really, I don't want to say conquer those people exactly, because that sounds a little mean, but I mean, that is kind of the message, you will overcome this opposition that these people are presenting. And let's see what else he says. So why on a spiritual level are you experiencing this transition in the way that you are? He's saying that for one thing, you're learning about how to continue to be satisfied or content, or to just find the joy and blessings in every moment, even when you're poor or destitute, or when you're even when people aren't supporting you in the way that you want, even when you have competition, whatever, when the chips are down, when life is not going the way that you've wanted it to go, you can still find the blessings in that. And he's saying that's part of what the lesson of this moment is for you, is you're learning to find joy even in those hard times. Finding joy in the hard times is part of it. And then also it's about, learning not to hold on so tightly to a certain way of being. There was some way that your life was that you were holding on to, and you didn't want to change. You didn't want to take a risk. You just wanted to hold on to what you had. And at some point, the universe was like, this is enough. You need to fucking give that up. If you don't give it up, I'm going to take it from you. And that's what happened. This transition was going to happen either way. It seemed like you might have been resisting it. And then the universe was like, it's time. Sorry. This lesson is going to happen. This transition is going to happen. And that's not a judgment of you. We all do that. That's part of the lesson too. If we didn't resist, then we wouldn't learn that message about resistance. But yeah, finding a balance between being okay with how things are, even if they're not great, but at the same time, being willing to take a risk on achieving something better. So that seems an important message. So I'm going to repeat it again. King Tut wants you to realize that you need to strike a balance between, on the one hand, being accepting and content with life, even in times of sorrow or in times of lack, but at the same time, being willing to take risks to improve the situation. So it's a balance between acceptance and determination to make things better. I accept that life is not always fantastic, but I'm also determined to be willing to take risks in order to make my life better. Okay, and what more advice does King Tut have for you on how to move forward? First, he wants to say, first of all, kudos. You're doing a wonderful job. You are finding that balance. You really are doing a great job, actually, of finding that balance. So he's saying good job. And, continuing to sort of allow the ebb and flow of life to exist around you as you move forward on your journey is going to make that forward movement a lot more successful. And you're going to continue to need to strike that balance that we mentioned before, the balance between acceptance and determination for improvement as you continue to move forward. So this is a very important spiritual lesson. It isn't just a momentary lesson. This is a lesson you're learning that is going to continue to be important for you for the duration of your life and for the duration of all of your other lifetimes. So this is a really big lesson you're learning right now. You know, when we learn soul lessons, everything in our soul is like a memory storage almost. Everything that we've ever experienced in any lifetime, and most of us have had many, many, many lifetimes. There are some people, you know, there might be someone watching this who is a completely new soul, but most of us are not. Um, we've been around, we carry all of this stuff, good and bad, negative, positive, times when we've learned our lessons, times when we haven't, skills we've learned from other lifetimes. We carry all of this around with us. And sometimes we have to let go of some of that baggage in our soul as well, which is a whole other topic. But the message here is, yes, you're moving forward into something wonderful. You hit the end of the road with one aspect of your life, but this transition is moving you into something wonderful. And he wants to tell you more about what you're moving into. It is a time when you're going to feel more spiritually connected and guided in very positive ways. So this isn't going to be anything that feels fearful to you. It's going to be very, like mystical or just inspiring. You're going to feel inspired by life. You're going to feel like there's a fresh new start. It's like after there's a rainstorm, and then the rainbow comes out, and the air just feels crisp and clean, and everything feels renewed. That's the feeling that you have going forward. He's also showing me that you are going to have wealth and abundance. So, you're going to succeed in your career. So this transition may have something to do with career and money. I kind of had that feeling even before that this might have to do with like a financial loss or something. For some of you, it might be something else. Whatever it is, there's sadness. There's a tremendous amount of sadness associated with it. But you're at the place now where you're moving on from that sadness. You've hit the worst part of the sadness, and now you're moving on from that. So that's nice to be reminded of as well. Also, he's telling you there are going to be a lot of options as you move forward. Some of those options might be confusing, but it is nice to have options. And he has some advice for you about how to choose the best option. Some options might look great because they're emotionally fulfilling. There are other options that look great because they're more fulfilling in terms of abundance, having the resources you need, wealth, money. And so he wants you to think about which of those is more important to you. But he also, let me see, there's another message here. Let me try to understand it. Yeah. I mean, he wants you to understand that when you follow what makes you feel happy, and when you follow love, when you choose love, then you are also choosing abundance, because those two things are linked together. When you choose love and accept love into your life, love will bring with it everything else that you need. So love, in the Bible it says the greatest of these is love. So yeah, if you're trying to build an empire, if you're trying to build material success, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't focus on the material and make your choices based on just what looks best materially. Because when you do that, yes, you might be materially successful, but the emotional, the happiness part of it may not be there. What's the point of being wealthy if you're not happy? Money cannot buy happiness. But he's saying, you need to have clarity about what is going to make you feel most loved and appreciated, and what's going to allow you to express more love and appreciation to others. And whatever that is, that's going to be the right choice, because everything else will follow love. The money, the success, that will follow love. And just to wrap this up, he wants to remind you again of what he initially said about his own life, which is that he had wealth, he had material abundance, he was successful, but it was somewhat empty because love was not there. Emotional support was not there. So he does not want you to make the mistakes that he made. He's able to guide you through this because he made the wrong choices in those regards. Of course, he was very young, you know, um, but yeah, he's saying follow love, and all of the other successes that you've been seeking will stem from that choice. So just make the right choice. He's going to continue to be guiding you. And also, this is a healing journey. He's going to be providing you with healing. This is a healing process that you're going through. So I feel like that's pretty much the whole message that he has. If you feel particularly connected with him, he might be a very significant guide for you for some time. You might want to learn more about him, or even, have a picture of him around to kind of remind you of the fact that you are guided and supported in this process. So finally, if you enjoyed this, don't give it away in the comments who the guide is, because when people choose their card, I don't want them to know until they get to the reading, but let me know if it resonated or not. And if you liked this is something I'll continue to be doing. So feel free to subscribe as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay, for those of you who chose number 2, which was the 8 of Swords, your guide is Sultan Ahmed III. And I'll just read, I actually, I am guided myself in strange ways to who these spirit guides are who want to come through. So I had not even heard of this guy until today. But I'll just read a little bit about him. He was a sultan of the Ottoman Empire, and the empire flourished under his 27-year rule. It flourished financially, culturally, artistically. He really promoted literature and the arts. Even so, he was, and also, well, I already said this, it flourished financially, so there was a lot of abundance, but he was eventually forced out of leadership by his own military, citizens, and coup leaders because of the opulent and excessive lifestyles that he and his top officials were leading. So I guess people didn't like that. But anyway, so he was a ruler of the Ottoman Empire for 27 years. And he wants to help you. The aspect of your life that he wants to help you with is peace of mind. And I know that for 2 reasons, because the card that you chose was the 8 of Swords, which is someone who does definitely not have peace of mind. But I also chose randomly a card from the Blessed Bee Oracle deck. And I can't remember the name of the woman who makes this right now, but this card, every card is a blessing, and this particular card, which I know you can't really see this, but it says a blessing for peace of mind. So he wants to help you achieve a greater peace of mind. And I'm also using tarot to help me channel the message here today. And I'm asking him, what did he experience in his own life that is making him capable of guiding you through this process of obtaining a greater peace of mind? And I ask that because, guides will come into our lives sometimes. It's just like people, that saying, people come into our lives sometimes, for our whole lifetime, sometimes for a season, sometimes for a moment. And guides will do that too. Our primary guide has been with us since the beginning of our life, maybe even since the moment we were conceived. I don't know. And then we have other guides who come and go. And we have guides who we can call on at any time, especially angels. Angels will come to us at any time that we need them. But anyway, so I wanted to know, what is it that he experienced that helps him to guide you through this process of obtaining a greater peace of mind. So I'm using the tarot here. He's telling me that it took a great amount of mental clarity and mental precision, he's saying, in order to be an emperor or a sultan, whatever word you want to use. The emperor card is coming up here, so I want to use the word emperor in a way. And he's saying it also took, he's also telling me that he was connected to esoteric knowledge. And I don't know if that's known about him, because again, I'd not even heard about him until today. But he's telling me he was a student of the esoteric. So hidden knowledge, hidden religious or spiritual knowledge, he studied that. So, so that's interesting. So because of that, he is able to help guide you towards a greater peace of mind. So maybe he understands certain spiritual practices or knowledge, esoteric knowledge regarding peace of mind. So I want to ask him, why is peace of mind so important for the people viewing this? Why is it so important for them right now? Okay, he's telling me that you are in a process of moving on from a situation that no longer serves you. You might still be kind of looking back on this, whatever it is that you're moving on from. But you still feel sort of an emotional pull to it, because there was a time at which this was good for you. It was for a time the best thing for you. But you're moving on, towards greater happiness, but at the same time, you're also resisting that happiness. He's saying that it's important for you right now to really be willing to gain a different perspective on what's happening in your life. Specifically, he wants you to gain a more spiritual perspective on what's going on in your life. And the more you're able to do that, meditation is coming through as important. Meditation specifically, and I know a lot of us hate hearing that. It's like being told that you should exercise and eat right, Those things are not easy. It sure aren't for me. I'm sure it's obvious, but he's saying, meditation is important, but also gaining a greater spiritual awareness just in general. So it isn't just about meditation, but he may want you to be studying spiritual matters more as well. And that's really going to move things forward a lot. Now, I'm using tarot, like I said, to help me channel the message. And so far, we already have 3 of the 8 cards that have come up. The initial card you chose was the 8 of Swords. I've also got the 8 of Cups and 8 of Wands in these cards that I'm holding. So things are wanting to happen in your life pretty rapidly right now. And I feel like Spirit is and you know, the Sultan here is trying to tell you, you know, it's okay for things to be moving quickly. But there also seems to be sort of a tension between sometimes things need to slow down a little bit in order for them to again move quickly. So you might be actually cycling between a moment of slowing down and then in a moment of speeding up. The eights also, of course, relate to the concept of infinity. Infinity. Let me ask more about what the message is there, because this does seem like a very spiritual message about infinity. Okay, so I think part of it is just that whatever lesson you're learning right now is a lesson that you have learned before. Maybe not just even in this lifetime. It might be a lesson that you've had to learn many times. It's so it is a very special lesson for you. It's a very important one because you've been spending a lot of time on it. You've chosen to focus on whatever this spiritual lesson is. You've chosen to put a lot of your soul effort into it. And part of that message is, you know, things have been offered to you. Opportunities have been offered to you, and for some reason, many times in your life, you've been offered opportunities and you've refused them. This is a pattern you have of refusing what's being offered to you. It's almost like, in a way, you would prefer to remain dissatisfied in life rather than embracing an offer of something that would improve your life. So he wants you to think about why you're doing that. He's also reminding you that we always have options. There's always more than one path. We might get stuck in our heads thinking that there's only one path, but you've been taking the same path over and over, and this path is just leading you back around to where you started from. So you're really just going in circles if you continue to take this same path over and over and over. So he's saying you've taken this path again, and it's going to just lead you in a circle right back to where you were, where you are again are going to be offered these two paths. He wants you to take the other path. Whichever path you have been refusing to take, that is the one that you now need to take. He also wants you to know that when you take this new path, you do not have to worry about being alone. You are not going to be alone in life just because you're taking a different path than the one you have. Maybe you've been taking that same path because you felt like that path kept you safe from loneliness. Some of you might be in codependent relationships or just relationships that are no longer serving your best interests. They're probably not serving the best interests of the other person either. Even though that person also might still want to be in the relationship, it's time to move on. So he wants you to know that when you, and for others it may not be a relationship or it may just be a situation, but he doesn't want to remind you that you're not alone just because you're choosing a different path than what you have been choosing. Okay, so let me ask, what is this new path going to bring for you? So it's going to bring you the possibility of financial and social security. So in other words, like a feeling of being connected, interconnected to a group of people, maybe a feeling of having a family or a sense of being connected strongly to your community, or it may be both of those things. And And you're going to be someone who is an anchor or a support system for other people as well. Now this card did come up reversed, so again, there is a feeling that even if you choose this new path that you've been refusing to take until now, there's still some resistance on your part. It's almost as if you do not want to be happy. So he wants you to think about why you're refusing happiness, because you've been refusing it many times before. This is not a new lesson for you. Why do you keep refusing happiness? You need to start accepting happiness and accepting that life can be really good for you and accepting that you can have all those good things that you've always wanted. My cat is wanting to be in the reading today, so she just jumped up here. He also wants to remind you this is something you've been working on. We already addressed that somewhat, but he's wanting to congratulate you. Your guides always want to congratulate you because the spiritual lesson is a process. And you've been doing great. He wants you to know you've been doing great. And he wants you to continue in the ways in which you've been making positive choices, and when you have been allowing love in and happiness in, you know, think about those moments. Think about what you did, what your mindset was when you allowed yourself to receive good things and, you know, gain strength from those moments in which you've succeeded as you continue on your journey forward. Okay, and I just want to ask, what else does he want you to know? So he's saying, in addition to allowing yourself to receive gifts of happiness, you need to be willing to extend that to other people as well. So you might have been holding back telling someone thank you, or I love you, or I appreciate you, because you have a fear of being vulnerable if you admit that you care about someone, or you know that you care about someone enough to help them out, or you know, sometimes we're afraid of helping people because we're afraid of being used. You may have been used and abused by people before when you gave to them. And he's saying, you know, you need to be willing to receive from other people and accept love and help, but you also need to be open to giving it to the right people. Again, we want to make different choices than what we've made in the past. So the people we've chosen in the past are not the people we need to be choosing now. So use your discernment. But he's also saying, you know, these are big changes that you're making in your life, so it's okay to take your time. This is a long-term project. It's not a short-term project. Although there are going to be moments where things move more rapidly than others. But it's okay for those times when things don't move as rapidly as well. So I think that is pretty much the message that he has. You know, and I think he also, well, I guess there is a little bit more to the message. He is reminding me about his own life and how he was really successful and how he brought a lot of good into the Ottoman Empire. You know, he had good intentions. I think he wants to remind you about his own weakness maybe that brought him down, which was, you know, maybe focusing at some point, you know, you're learning how to allow happiness in, which is great. But he's also saying don't be confused about what true happiness is either. True happiness isn't an ego thing about how much money we have, or what kind of excessive lifestyle we can have. That's not what happiness is about. And he wants to remind you how when he got in that mindset himself, how it really it kind of ruined him. Basically, he doesn't want you to be ruined in this process of allowing love in, because allowing love into your life is very important and good for you. But remember what love truly is. Love is not about adulation. It's not about people worshiping you. It's not about that. It's about a healthy interdependence with another person, or with other people, or with a sense of community. Healthy interdependence with people in the community. It's not about being a tyrant. Um, it's not about using or abusing your position in order to dominate people. It's about helping other people and allowing other people to help you. Okay, so with that said, I do think now we are at the end of this message. If this really resonates with you, you might be called to do more research on the Sultan. He might be particularly significant for you, or for some of you, this just might be a momentary message that you needed to receive. Either way, don't give away who the guide is, because I want everyone coming here, to not know who their guide is until they've chosen their card. But if it resonated with you, you can let me know that in the comments below. And if you want to see more of these or any of my other types of readings, please like and subscribe as well. And I hope you got something wonderful out of this. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Hello, those of you who chose the third card, which is the Moon card. Your spirit guide coming through today is John James Audubon. Probably a lot of you have already heard of him. He was an ornithologist, which is someone who studies birds, and he's very famous for being the illustrator and author of Birds of America, which is one of the most famous birding books. And also, I think it's pretty expensive, Birds of America. And so on the left here, you see a picture of him, or I guess it's a drawing of him. And then on the right is a drawing that he made of an American flamingo. So if you really resonate with spirit animal messages as well, you might want to look up information about pink flamingo spirit animal messages or totem medicine. What I know about the pink flamingo, because it's been coming through a lot for me lately actually, is about willing to show your colors to other people. So being willing to express your ideas and your creations. So if you're artistic in some way, it's being willing to allow other people to see that, letting other people see your art. Or if you're really into fashion, being willing to really embrace that and wear things that make you feel happy. Not being afraid to stand out in positive ways, not being afraid of being seen. So that's part of the message for you, is coming from the pink flamingo itself. But from John James Audubon, I asked him, I drew this oracle card from the Blessed Bee Oracle deck. You probably can't see this very well, but it says a blessing of forgiveness. So he wants to help you work through forgiveness. And whoever you're first thinking of that you need to forgive, that probably is it, although it might also be multiple people. The card that you chose is the Moon card, so that tells me that this forgiveness is regarding someone who you have a real soul level connection with. And I think for some of you, maybe not all of you, this might be someone, someone from your past romantically. And I say this because I also asked him, I'm using the tarot to help channel his message to you today. I asked him what was his own experience in his life that allows him to be the person who needs to guide you in your life right now. And he is telling me that, and I don't know a lot about his personal life. When I'm done with this, I'm going to look it up and find out what I can, because now I feel nosy. But apparently he was really in love with someone. He had some kind of romantic partnership that was just very, very significant to him. And maybe this person actually inspired him to study birds. There was something about his connection to this person that inspired his study of birds. And when I say inspired, that can mean many things. It's almost like, my feeling is that this person was a muse to him. His love and his connection to this person was so strong that it really led him to follow his passions. And the pink flamingo is about that as well, following your passions and not being afraid to shine when you really have hit upon a passion that's especially relevant for you. So for him, he had a passion for birds. And, you can see in this picture of him, he comes across as this very stoic, masculine guy. I saw multiple images of him where he's holding a gun. So he comes across to me as this real macho guy. I wouldn't come across this guy in life and think, well, he really loves birds. Beautiful. He loves the beauty and the majesty of the bird world. I wouldn't think that of him. I would just think this is a guy who wants to go shoot birds. And he probably did. I mean, he's holding a gun a lot, so imagine he was a hunter of some kind. But again, I don't know that much about him on a personal level, but he is telling me that he had someone very significant in his life, and that love for this person really inspired him to pursue all of his other passions. So I feel like that is part of the message as well. There's someone in your life, in your romantic past, I'm feeling like it could also be your romantic present, but someone you have a deep emotional connection to, who for some reason you're needing to forgive. But this person also did inspire passions in you. And when I say passions, I'm talking about like, artistic creation or an interest in some subject matter, like he was interested in birds. But it inspired you. It could be a sport that you were particularly passionate about. Whatever it is, some subject or, something that was a passion. I don't have to drive that into the ground. I think you know what I'm saying. But he wants you to forgive this person. And part of that process of forgiving is reminding you, because I think you may have forgotten how much this person did inspire you, how much this person really helped you in life. So let me see. What is it that you're needing to forgive this person for? So I'm getting the Devil card, the Hanged Man, and the Wheel of Fortune reversed. My feeling, again, this seems to me like someone from your romantic past. You had a strong connection to this person, but for some reason, either they weren't willing to make a sacrifice, or you were not willing to make a sacrifice in order for it to work. And I'm thinking it was actually both of those things. There were things about your life that you did not want to give up, whether you are acknowledging that or not. Your guide here, John James Audubon, would like you to acknowledge that. there are things that you didn't want to give up. Maybe you're putting all the blame onto this other person, or you're putting a significant amount of blame onto this other person, but both of you were attached to certain things that you wanted out of a relationship. And because of that, you both ended up, ultimately it did not work out between the two of you because there were sacrifices that neither of you were willing to make in order to make it work. And, it may have been in your best interest that you didn't make those sacrifices. And it may have been in this other person's best interest that they didn't make the sacrifices that they didn't make. Because there was some other destiny or fate that each of you needed to follow in your lives. Okay, what else can we say that will help kind of release or allow this forgiveness? So, so you may have been approaching this in a very intellectual way. Your way of thinking about this might be very much about your intellect. But your intuition is also telling you that that this person did help you connect to something that was a passion of yours or that became a passion of yours. And it may have related to music or artistic expression or singing. It could have related to anything really, but something that you were passionate about. I feel like it's probably more of an artistic expression sort of thing, but take the message for how it resonates for you. This person helped to open you up to your own they helped you in a material way, like in a real life way. They may have been involved somehow with this act of artistic creation that you did. You may have even worked together, or they taught you something, or you taught them something. But it also works on a more intuitive level. You have a real intuitive connection to this person. Let me ask more about that. What do we know about the intuitive connection? Even though things did not pan out for you, you and this person, either you didn't get together or you didn't stay together, because again, this is coming through as someone from your past who you're not currently with. That's definitely what I'm feeling at this point. Even though it didn't work out, the connection was never completely broken. On a spiritual level, and even you may have continued to communicate as well on some level. And the communication, I feel like, has been mostly pretty friendly. Although there might be some things that you haven't expressed out loud that have not been friendly. You might still be holding grudges or hard feelings about some things, but they're saying in terms of the two of you having an intuitive connection, your spiritual bond was never quite broken. Your spiritual bond was never completely broken. And maybe it never will be completely broken. And, so if that is the case, of course, it's going to be important to forgive this person, not because you necessarily want to be in a relationship with them now. I still don't feel like that's probably the best choice for you, but you do have a spiritual bond with this person. You still, even now, I feel like, whether this is happening in real life or more on a fifth dimensional thing, you still inspire each other to be better human beings. And that was a very important part of the connection for both of you. You inspire each other to be better human beings. So what else about forgiving this person? I think that part of the reason why it's really important at this particular time in your life to forgive this person is because you are moving into a very happy time in your life, a very happy and fulfilling time in your life. And if you're unable to forgive this person, then you're going to be blocking the happiness. It's going to come to you either way. The happiness is coming into your life, so you can't really block it, but you're going to make the process a whole heck of a lot easier if you can be willing to accept the responsibility of forgiveness. So be willing to accept the responsibility of forgiveness. And I'm also getting this message that you don't necessarily have to express this forgiveness to them directly. In fact, one of the best ways you can express this forgiveness is through artistic creation. Also through artistic creation, you can work through any of the negative feelings that you still have about this person or your connection or your history with them. So that's an act of forgiveness as well. Even for some reason, I'm reminded of that Alanis Morissette song, You Oughta Know, which is a very angsty, angry song directed towards an ex. But even, songs like that, being able to express those emotions in a positive way through art helps us to get to a better place of forgiveness than where we have been. So express yourself. And, maybe this is writing songs or poems or playing music, or it could be listening to music, creating films, painting, drawing, doodling. It could be journaling, it could be dance. But however you want to express things, express it in a positive, creative way. And also continue to tap into forgiveness and try to express that forgiveness that you are feeling more fully towards this person. We'll see if there's any final message. And, I'm getting the Two of Cups reversed. Let me just clarify that. I think some of you, because of this message, are wondering if you are meant to reconnect with this person. Like, am I supposed to get back into a relationship with this person? That's something that's coming in to your mind for some of you. And I think he's just saying that the focus right now needs to be more on the emotional transition, just on the emotions of forgiveness. This is not really the time for pursuing a relationship with this person. You may or may not want to, or maybe at some point you want to establish more of a friendship at some point, but that point is not now. The thing that you really need to focus on now is just opening yourself up to the emotions you have about this person, paying attention to those emotions, processing the emotions, and again, just getting to a better place of forgiveness towards this person. Okay, so I feel like that was a really wonderful message. I hope that you got something great out of that. If so, let me know in the comments. Please don't disclose in the comments the name of the guide, because I don't want people, when they're watching this, to be for that, I don't want you to take away the surprise element of who their guide is. But let me know if it resonated. That will be great to know. And if you like these, I'll be doing more of them. So please subscribe and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching.